Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another wonderful episode of Whip Finish Wednesday. And hey to Joe, to Bill, to Ore, to Ken B, Jimmy Roop, Mike Seymour, and friends that have been chiming in as we've been getting ready to go live with you guys. It is, as always, a pleasure to spend this wonderful Wednesday evening with you guys. As I get my comments coming up, hopefully they'll come up here in just a second. It's awesome that you all have chosen to spend your night with us. Hello, Patrick. Katie's been excited all day, getting all ramped up and looking forward to the show, as I'm sure everyone has been that's hopping on now. Hello, Steve. And we are up. That's right. So tonight, a quick story. I think Joe Jackson and Jeff Rowley are having a sleepover somewhere close to Atlanta tonight, and they're watching together in their hotel room. Hello, Helena Fisher. I think that is Howie Fisher. Troy, good to see you. But after the Virginia fly fishing show, I took Jeff Rowley fishing in Gatlinburg, and it's kind of a funny story because we're going to go up in the park to fish for wild rainbow trout, possibly some native brook trout, but with the bad weather, sorry, all the comments come through. With the bad weather and very slick roads, we couldn't make it into the park, so we met up with our good friend Jesse Huddleston. I think his screen name on Instagram is J Hud something, and he showed us some places in Gatlinburg that I'd never fished in the city limits of Gatlinburg, and we caught some big old stock trout, and it was sometimes going football hunting is kind of fun. But this is this little straggle buggers I'll throw in the park and obviously outside the park. And this is a very simple tie, and that's what, after our little hiatus, we want to come back and start tying some more basic flies that don't require a lot of materials, that good kind of intro flies. Is one that anyone can tie. But we're going to do a straggle bugger. The two main ingredients are marabou and a straggle string, obviously a hook, bead, and some string. And then we're going to add some stuff to them to make it a little bit more lively and just a little more fun. And Mr. Barnes decided to join us tonight. That is awesome. What's up, Fudd? So, Katie, anything you'd like to add to the beginning?
I can't think of anything.
Well, it's wonderful having you here with us as well to keep me under control. So let's show them the flies that we're going to tie real quick. All right. Well, what's up, Chasing Feathers? Dr. Jason Stevenson. So right here in the vise is just your plain Jane straggle bugger. I was throwing a white one, and this is just about exactly like I was throwing in the a week or two ago. No frills, just the marabou, a little bit of crystal flash in the tail, and the straggle string in the front. You could also, this is a black version, same thing, marabou. I need to put my glasses on. I can't even put the hook in the vise. Marabou, crystal flash. You've got your straggle string and a little, I think this is a Brahma hen, soft tack on the front. But right now, here's my favorite nose piercers. That's right, Jeff. And I'm glad everyone's welcoming Gary back, because he was out last week. So here's one of my favorite variations right now. And I did forget, this was the one on the picture that Katie did such a good job taking a picture of that we posted today. But I did forget to put the crystal flash in the back. But it's just the straggle string for the body. But this is my favorite color that you all have heard me talk about a few times already. But this is that JD Olive scud deving from Silverfly, and it works really good. This is just a little veil in the front with that on there, brushed out, gives a nice little flash to it. So this is what we'll be tying in different colors. So between black, white, and olive, if you had three to throw and it was middle of the day, partly cloudy, what color would you all throw? And the first answer will be the one that we tie. While y'all are answering, I'm going to be using the Arex Freshwater 555 in the size 12. But any jig hook will work. And these are relatively, for buggers, these are relatively small. So Nan says olive, so that'll work. We'll go olive with a black nickel bead on this one. Ooh, Glenn said olive. Everyone's saying olive. That'll work.
Oh, and I was going to say that here in a little while, I do have some pictures I'd like to share.
Yes, you do.
But not right now. We'll wait till you get going.
All right, this sounds perfect. All right, we're going to put a 4mm bead on. I love how Jeff just thinks outside the box. I was like, black, white, or olive. He says purple. Purple would be a good one too, for sure. All right, so I'll give you a quick little tutorial on jig hooks and putting beads on. There's not really I've bought tools to do that, but just using your hands I found the best way. But if you look right here, see how the slot is rounded on the top? We flip it around backwards. So see there how it's square? So I would think that the rounded part should go on the bottom, so it kind of cups the wire of the hook. That is incorrect. Typically, you want the rounded part, and can you all see that what I'm talking about? The rounded part of the slot itself right there. So see how that's rounded there? And we turn around again so you can see. And now it's square here. So that you want the rounded part going to the top. So right here, that will be backwards. So I'm going to flip it back around, get it right. And he said olive, so I'm going to grab some olive thread. And I'm just using the good old standby Semperfli Classic Wax thread in size 12/0. You could use 8/0 if you want to, 6/0. You can use heavier thread if you want. The reason I like using the lighter thread is when I'm building my collar up in the front, I don't have to cover up as much. It doesn't take up as much room when I'm all done. So I'm gonna put a little thread base on here. We'll bring the thread back up to the front. And that's just hopefully going to help give the shank a little bit of texture. How about you? Purple and nurple. Water is mud gray. Okay, so the little thread base is going to give a little texture for the marabou to sit on, so it's less likely to spin around. All right, let's switch back over. Let's go to the side view. So I'm going to use this now for these little buggers. The woolly bugger marabou is usually the stuff to use. And Ore, if you have to leave, let us know, because we've got a picture we want to share of you before you head off. So don't leave until we tell you can leave. Oh, come on. There we go. Sometimes I get stuck. All right. So here's my marabou feather right here. As you can see, the tip is pretty much garbage. And switch over to the hook shank, please, ma'am. So you can see here where the tip is. If I were to tie it in by the tip, it's just going to, I guess you use it for something, but not really for this. So if you want to, you could pull the tip out and then pull the good stuff forward. So you like something like this, pop it off and pull this forward. And you could kind of use that, kind of. But here's what I'll do. So we'll switch back over to the side. Water is frozen. It's frozen color. Well, that was when we were in the park, Gary. There's a lot of the water that was completely frozen up as well. So, but we don't deal with that very often. You're the pro at the frozen water. So I'm going to take about a good inch or so, grab it, pull the stem away. So I've got the feather and I got the stem in this hand and the fibers only using this hand. I pull this part away, and I can see the butt ends are pretty much lined up. Just pinch them together, cut these curlies off. And I know Lance Egan does a, oh, it's not his poacher. Maybe he is a poacher, but he has a really long tail, and I prefer a shorter tail. But tails just shank here, please. Yeah. Right, so we got our tail length. I want it about like that. So my cut it off like that. My thread's still at the front, so I'm gonna start lashing it in, holding it on top of the hook shank. There we go. Bring it back to the front. And now I've got that part of the tail done. But that's going to be a little thin. So it looks pretty good size right now, but when that gets wet, it's going to go really thin. So I'm just going to put a little bit more on top. So I usually, when I do this, I pull off 2 clumps. You can see I've got my butt ends here, pinch them together, cut them off. The second one's easy to measure. I just want to be the same length as before. So hold it like that. I'll wrap around the same way. Any questions? Al was actually doing a tying demo at Orvis the other day. We weren't able to go and see him. So if you got any longer fibers, you can just rip them off. So here's our tail. Tail's done, hook's crooked, and all is well in the world now. Any questions so far? No? Great. So I've got some UV purple crystal flash. Use whatever flash you want to. I like just using just one color and kind of sticking with it. But if you got like a UV pearl or just a plain kind of non-whatever, we're just trying to add a little flash to the thing. So you can see I got my one piece, folded it over, cut it. So now I've got 2 pieces. Pinch it like this so you can see. Bring it over right behind the eye. And we'll start wrapping it around. Make sure it goes somewhat where I want it to go. Just like that. Well, how about just like that? There we go. And I'm going to cut this to where it's a little bit longer, and don't pull it tight when you go to cut your crystal flash because it'll shrink back up. So I'm going to cut it just a touch longer than the marabou, and that's good. Okay, so insect green, I'll cross with that and just regular olive, but I like this insect green a little better. It's got a little more oomph to it. You can't see it much in the well, the last one we did was insect green, so I'll do the olive this time. Well, I'm glad you guys talked about this. Hopefully it was mostly good.
It's such a fun place to hang out anyway.
Yeah. We definitely hung out enough there. Shop. So while I'm going over like different techniques and stuff, if you notice how close my bobbin is to the hook itself, and Katie, we switch over to the side view again. If you find yourself tying like this and you're going around and you've got really big things and you bring it down to where there's nothing left, and then you're pulling it down and doing it again, work on your thread tension. So how easy it comes out of your bobbin, and try to get your bobbin try to keep it relatively close to the hook itself, to the shank. That'll give you better control of your thread. It'll allow, so when you're cording it up or uncording, you're trying to make it go different ways, like whether you're trying to go that way, I can't see it, that way, or I want to twist it and go the opposite way. If you just have an inch or so in between the tip of your bobbin and the hook itself, that'll allow the thread to cooperate a little bit more for you. Just a little quick tip. All right, so now we're going to put it in our bobbin cradle, And one thing that I keep seeing a lot of people doing, you don't have to put a half hitch. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to put a whip finish. Just use that jig hook where it goes down. It'll hold your thread just fine. And now we'll wrap this up. And these are just going to be side by side. Don't worry too much about getting them perfect. Don't worry about stroking the fibers back or anything. Just wrap it up. A couple more. All right, so now put a few wraps here, and I did leave the material on the spool, so it means I didn't waste any at all for the next time. Doesn't he have control, Jeff? So I didn't lose any material because I just left it all on the spool. There you go. That's the word I was looking for. Okay, so now if I wanted to keep it a regular straggle bugger, I would have gone all the way up to the front. I wouldn't have this little gap here, and I just whip finish to be done, and that'll fish fine, just like that. That's really nice. But we want to do it a little bit fancy, so we're going to do a official. Good grief, honey! I can't think of the words. Dubbing loop. So just take your thread, pull a bunch out, use your finger, hold it up like this, and then we're going to do relatively small. It's probably a 5-inch loop. Couple wraps, bring it around twice to close the loop off. Couple more wraps, and now I've got a nice dubbing loop here. Put our spinner, Nan's favorite spinner. Yeah, it's definitely easy to use. And I'm going to set it right there. So now it's kind of hard to see from that angle, but now my dubbing spinner is holding the thread loop down, a dubbing loop down, and my little screws on my vise are holding it open. So now I can get some material out. And all I'm going to do is get a couple pinches here. So don't want much, just a couple little pinches. And I'm going to pull them back out here, start putting them into my loop. It doesn't have to be perfect at this stage. Maybe one more. It does have to be in the loop somewhat. Okay, so you can see I've got the material in there. So I'm going to kind of spread it out a little bit. I'm going to twist it up. So just hold your finger and hold your finger. Don't let go of your finger. Thanks. Thank you, Katie. I appreciate your laugh. And we're going to twist the dubbing spinner. This is the C&F dubbing spinner.
You twist it clockwise or counterclockwise?
If I'm looking down on it, it's going clockwise. Good question, honey. So now I've got it done. Get a little piece of Velcro. Brush it out just a little bit. And now we'll bring this back. Let me switch back over to the vise itself. I'm going to bring it back to where my little indentation, my thread bump, a lack of thread bump came in. I'm going to bring it forward and cram this dubbing in this spot. Stroke the fibers back. As you can see, I'm not stroking it back every single one. There we go. I'll put a couple wraps to lock that in. I'm going to kind of twist up the two. One more. That should be good. So now we've got our nice little fly almost done.
Got a couple questions there.
Oh, you have amazing feats of fly holding your finger. I missed. What was Al's question? I missed it.
What is the dubbing, and what kind of dub did you use for the dubbing spinner?
The dubbing is it's that Scud dub, the JD Olive, and the Dovey spinners at CNF. What it's called, the CNF one.
And then I wanted to know from last week, when do you drop a thread size in accordance to fly hook size or fly size?
I think it was. Hold on. Other streamers, Court Plaza, Straggle. It's just kind of looking at Dr. Jason Stevenson's. So I'll do a strangulator. So I'll use them for the rear portion of a stimulator. So as opposed to having rear hackle in the back, you can use straggle string in the back, and that's probably my favorite one. You can use them for elk ear caddisses, just for regular bodies on flies. You do have to have a little bit of buoyancy because it's not going to be very good at floating. But with that wing on an elk ear caddis or the wing on a stimulator and that front hackle, it works really well for that. So if you want to, you can just whip finish and be done. Let's just put just an absolute touch so you can see just a little bit of dubbing. We'll separate in two little pieces. And the thread size, I'm kind of weird. I like to stick with the smallest thread that I can get by with. So this is the same thread I would pretty much use for most of my flies. See, Gary, that was the same thing I just said. Straggle bugger, elk ear caddisses. Now we'll do. Let's put a little that fun glue on there since I opened up a brand new bottle for last week's show. Another pro tip: when you're putting this stuff on, make sure you don't have a bobbin or anything sitting right below your thread, so you don't get a big drop of glue in your thread, because that will. I don't care what kind of thread you've got. You put Sally Hansen's super glue, any type of head cement in your thread, it's pretty much shot. So there we go. So you can see that's got a really nice, and that's a small. There's my thumb, so it's relatively small. That is my thumb. Yeah, Chernobyl ants would be a good one too, Gary. Good call. So relatively small, size 12 hook. I mean, if you think about last week, we started off on size 14, tying those little CDC Frenchies. This is just one size bigger, and it's got a lot of stuff on it. This has a 4 millimeter tungsten bead on it, so this thing's going to get down pretty quick, and it's just a good all around pattern to throw. So let's switch over to a different one.
Would you like me to share some pictures?
Absolutely, yeah. While I'm loading up another hook, you show some pictures.
Okay. So we have a few pictures to share that you all shared with us. And the first one is from Ken B. And these are, last week we tied the CDC Frenchies. And Ken, thank you so much for sharing that picture. And this one is Jay Wilson, 14360. These are from Instagram. And then Dr. J. Stevenson. And Dave Hall, 1391. And then I also wanted to share a picture of John and OG flies. And you can see the cat in the back.
So Ore that's Ore, and he was the hit of the Virginia Fly Fishing Show because of that darn cat. And the cat's name was Sushi, if I remember right. So
I love that name for a cat.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So now, Katie, how do people get
Don't let
pictures?
the cat out of the bag.
How do people get pictures to you to share?
Oh, okay. So you can share your pictures with us on Instagram. Just be sure that you tag at Demuth Fly Fishing and tag the photo.
Yep.
It's easier.
Yep, tag the photo at Demuth Fly Fishing. Oh boy. Now we got someone else coming in to join the party. She's like, Mom, Dad, that door. What's that door doing there? I'm just opening it myself. All right, there's another question that I missed right when Katie started going over the
with the jig hook. Do you mostly
Euronymph, yeah. So I personally am mostly Euronymping with it, but let's switch over to just me. Um, I'll mostly Euronymp with it, but one thing that actually I've been doing a lot with Jesse is at the end of the drift, he'll strip it back to him, and he'll actually almost like feed the fish. He'll just sit there and not even stripping it back. He'll just sit there and like work it in a pocket if it's sitting there at the end of the drift. And the white ones for sure, black ones with that orange head, kind of like an egg sucking leech. You can see because we're in really shallow water. The hole might be 3 feet deep or so. So if the water's clear enough, you can see your fly. So I like Euro nymphing it, but at the end, just bringing it back and kind of having it dance around if it's sitting there in a hole. So just kind of having it bounce around is a nice way to do it.
And yeah, the Dr. Jason D. Stevenson. The picture was a little blurry. I don't have an iPhone, so I'm not really sure why that came out blurry. But if anybody here has one and has any advice on what might have happened there, please jump in. I mean, if you get too close, sometimes like with my phone, it won't come into focus. But I'm not really sure about the iPhone cameras.
Oh, Josh,
Josh.
Did you email it to us?
He's Johnny on the spot.
He is. All right. So as you are talking, I'm just going to keep on time. We'll do a white one because that's one of my favorites. But then again, like I said, black, olive. Jeff's absolutely correct. Purple is pretty sweat. I'm doing the same things before. Just taking the feather, ripping it off the side. Get mine. And you can make this a lot straighter, but then I don't really want it to be absolutely perfectly straight. So, anyone going to the Atlanta show this weekend? I know for a fact you'll be able to see Jeff and Joe. And if you want to learn how to tie some pretty sick deer hair flies, you can take their class at Atlanta Fly Fishing Show. What did Glenn say? Always touch your screen to focus. Yeah. And it's easier to do on an actual DSLR, but if you have to focus on one thing, typically focus on the eye of the hook. But Nan's right. When you go really small, you just have got so close that you can get before it just won't focus anymore. The light focused on the fly and the pitch. Yeah, guys, keep on with the cell phone lighting suggestions all the time because I'm doing the same thing I did before. But the fun thing about this show is if it wasn't for you guys chatting and asking questions, we wouldn't ever learn anything. It'd be really boring. Really boring. I know those that know me can tell me or can absolutely tell that I'm telling the truth on this, but I learn more from you guys than you would imagine. So just share and ask. There's no dumb questions, only dumb people. Isn't that how it goes, honey?
Yes, and there are these macro lens that you can clip onto your phone. So I sent a link to an example of that, and I just picked the one that came up first. I think you can get them for even cheaper than what I found. But if you start taking pictures a lot with your phone and you want them to come in a little bit clearer and closer, that's how I started. Well, a long time ago, I got a macro lens that clipped over the lens of my phone.
Well, since everyone's watching me, Katie, we flip over the hook real quick. Mm-hmm. And then after she does that, I'm going to show you what I've done so far. So as you can see, the same thing. 2 little clumps, some flash, and I'm going to push pause on the tying right now. If you'll notice, and will you put it on you for a second? if you notice in Katie's background, she has a little something here, and that is called her light box. So this is where she took the pictures yesterday, and she's actually just kind of switched it around. So it is now in the background of the show. So as a few people have said, the lighting is so important. And Jimmy, I think if we get enough people that say, Katie, we're done seeing John Ty for a little bit. Let's have Katie do some YouTubes on how to take good pictures. She would be happy to do it. But Katie, you want to show your light box and kind of how you do your lighting? It's going to be kind of hard to hear because her microphone, she's got to be close to.
Yeah,
But
I mean, you can see the light box behind me. I have it kind of flipped on its side right now. You can also turn it up the other way. And then you can see one of the lights that I have, and then I have another one on the opposite side in the same position. So that's how I light the light box with those two lights. And then I have a platform like in the middle that's black. I also have a clear one, and that's what I set the flies on to take pictures. So I don't know what you would call that, like a special kind of plastic.
That came from your favorite photography store. Nan could
No,
walk.
I didn't get it from B&H. I think I actually got that from the other guys. It starts with an A.
It wasn't Amazon. It was it was some fancy
photography store.
It was like $100 black piece of plastic that was super fancy. But as some of the comments have said, lighting that's an expensive light box. You can get really cheap ones. But the key thing is it
that
disperses.
One was cheap. It was not expensive.
Well, that was like $50 or so, wasn't it?
Maybe.
Compared to like you can get some $10,
Thank
$15
you, Mike
ones.
Seymour, Adorama.
Adorama, there you go. See?
Yeah.
And changing up the background, as Nan's saying, is absolutely like that's where Katie. She has a clear one. She'll use wrapping paper. She'll use all sorts of things to take pictures on. Right?
Oh yeah. You just get creative. You start figuring stuff out.
And there are.
Yeah, I mean, I think the macro lenses are pretty universal as far as they $27.99.
Yeah.
And it looks like a chip clip almost with a lens on it that you just clip over the actual phone lens and then you take the picture. They're actually pretty cool and they work really well.
Yep. Reflections. Bill, are we frozen for anyone else, or is it just Bill? Let's see. Well, it's actually frozen on mine now. So I'm going to start mine. Nope, I'm back up. So are we frozen anywhere else? Al, let me start answering your question if you can hear me. So 50 just Al. Well, it's not freezing on mine, which means nothing. Although mine's going to the same place and back to you. It froze just a second ago and now it's back. Okay, good. I'm glad it's back. So going down in thread size, I'll use the 18-aught classic wax thread a lot when I'm doing Catskill style flies, because I like when I'm cross wrapping the wings in. I want to create the least amount of bulk as possible. But probably size, depending on the pie, size 20 is when I'm going to typically go down. But if I'm doing a simple zebra midge and a 24, I'm going to use 12-aught. Because when you start going really thin, when I'm just doing one layer down, one layer back up, when you go that thin, then you can still see the hook shank through the thread. So the key is with supposedly going down in thread size is the smaller the fly, the more you have to be specific with your thread wraps and making your thread wraps count. Does that make sense? So it has what to do with the style of fly versus the size of the fly. Anyone still with us, or do we freeze up? So while we unfreeze and get a response, I'm going to use the this Straggle string mixed pack standard collection. And so it's just got a bunch of different colors, and I think it's like a whitish color for this. So we'll switch back over to I like Jeff's answer, yes. Do a wrap, 2, 3 wraps, and we'll pull it. So see how that tag ends right there. We'll pull it to where it's the right length that I want. Pull tight. Tied it nice and tight there. Do the same thing. Sit into my bobbin cradle, pull it tight. That first one, it's the Kelly Gallup thing. Hold the tail, pull tight. I didn't explain that last time. And we're just going to bring this up side by side reps. And guess what, guys? If you don't have straggle string and you want to tie something this week, don't worry about it. You can order straggle string. And if you will remind me, we have a discount code for Jay Stalker we can share. But someone has to remind me or I'll forget. But just do the same thing that I did for that I'm going to do here in a second for the front and find a nice little coarse dubbing. Just do a dubbing loop and spin it up the whole way up. No big deal. So I'm going to use this right here, which is fish belly / white. Let's do it. Get a double loop together first, John. Don't get ahead of yourself. So we got a dubbing loop done. See it there. Get my spinner. Hook it on. Don't forget to hold on to your finger.
Hold your finger.
Hold your finger. But you're holding the thread with your finger. Dubbing spinner. Drop it down there. Pull out a couple little pinches. Now this is going to be quite a bit longer, so I might trim it down just a bit, but I want to card it. I want to line the fibers a little bit. So if we pull them out of the bag, does everyone know cut the corner of the bag trick? Does anyone not know that? See how that looks a lot thicker. We'll put it in my loop, close it. I'm going to spread it out. So this is kind of another little trick is you'll center it, stretch it. Because I want it to be a thin loop, not a thin long loop, not a fat short loop.
And you make it look really easy. It takes some practice to get it to like stick in there like that.
Yeah.
It's not that easy.
Gary, if you're still on here, how long is a spool of straggle string? If you want to do a drawing, I'll do a 10-pack of straggle string to the one. Gary, Katie, be thinking about drawing, and that sounds awesome, Gary. While Katie's thinking about how to do a quick drawing, thank you. Everyone say thanks to Gary Barnes.
Thank you, Gary.
It could. We'll try it this time, Jason. I'll give it a shot, but that's going to be a little bit long for my taste, so I'm going to cut it down just a pinch, just on one side. I can always cut it down more later. Hold it. Hold your finger. Twist. I guess we'll just do the numbers again.
Yeah, we can do that.
All right. I'll brush this out. As you can see, there's a little bit here. But let me pull out my phone so you can type this in as well. I've got text message here because, okay. Will you type this in the comments? WFW _ right here. It's for, you can tell them what the discount's for. All right, so let's start twisting this up. I'm going to bring it back a little bit.
Okay, so this is Jay Stalker?
Yep.
Okay.
Now bring it forward. Oh, don't do that. If you do drop it, no big deal. Just grab a whistle a little bit. There we go. Filling it in. Hackle pliers. It's not my night for remembering basic tools. All right. Appreciate you, Gary. Great answer. Thanks, Gary. Awesome, Gary. Cool. Gary's getting the really good stuff. So since it's still on the side, when I tie that off, I put 3 wraps of my primary thread to lock this in. But I'm going to twist this around a few times like this. I'll do one wrap like that, one more, and then cut it off. But Gary, do you know, as long as you remember to wear underwear, it does go a long way to when you tie some small edges. Use 1 inch per, more for bigger ones. But I found it darker too long. Gary, do you know how much material is on one of these spools? I mean, it's quite a bit. And whoever said it takes about 1 inch per fly, Glenn, you're right. Especially if you do it the way I did, where you leave it on the spool. But believe it or not, I've been using more of the Straggle legs recently than Straggle string, and we'll do one with Straggle legs next, just to make it, just so you can see the difference in the material. Because that's one thing that's really hard to tell in pictures, like what's what. All right, 4 yards, 6 yards. All right, so now we're untwist my thread.
Red tail hawk feathers.
I think she was asking for
Right,
fly tying ideas on that. And I guess my idea is don't get caught with that. Or I don't need to get caught with it, because that would be a big no-no for me, Mr. White Guy, to have. I'll brush this out. You can see these fibers. So let's switch over to the hook itself. See how it's got a nice, it's sparse, so it's not going to take up a lot of, it's not going to affect the sink rate much. But you can see how that little veil around it, it's tied the same way as the other one. But here's my thumb. But it goes well on your nose, doesn't it, Jeff? Works great for chewy caddisses. Almost under fire. So between 4 and 6. Okay. 5 meters, 6 meters, 4 meters. I mean, relatively, I need to take this and cut the flash a little bit. Relatively, there's not a lot, but you don't use a lot of it. So we're going to do something a little bit different on this one. So this is a great little fly. You see how easy that was. I sure so there's yeah, well, I don't know if the right person or wrong person found out. Yeah. All right, what color we'll do? We'll do a blackish. We'll do this. So I'm gonna go back to my black. If I can find it. I'm sure I'm the only person here that has a problem sometimes, and you lose stuff. Can't find stuff right in front of you. That's why I've got Katie. Everyone needs a Katie in their life. That way you can say, "Where is it?" And she comes up and says, "It's right in front of you, dummy." So this will be the last one we tie for the night, and we'll do a. I might have to restart my TV here because now mine's completely gone. Go like this. Switch it, and we'll turn it back on. It'll load up. Ooh, send to phone. That's a new feature. There we go. Okay. So everyone see me? There we are. Fishing with Rob and Paul. And Neil's buzzed us. Yep, it's fun when that happens. All right, we're going to go back over to black. Just say black, huh? So while we're tying this, we'll do a drawing. So do you have a suggestion, Katie? Or do you just want to do it?
A drawing? Well, I'm not really set up to do a drawing right now, but
we'll just write a number down. They pick it.
Yeah, you can just write you can write a number down, and they can pick a number between 1 and like 100.
Okay. So I'm gonna get a piece of paper here. So Gary Barnes has offered.
Yeah.
Fish hair stackers again. Yeah, Gary, that's funny. I know what you're talking about. All right, I'm gonna write a number down here. 1 to 100. Gary Barnes has offered to donate 10 spools of straggle string. So I think a lot of people already say thanks to Gary Barnes, but if you haven't, tell him thanks. Don't give a number yet, Steve. Let's go with number. There we go.
Okay,
So
don't show me. Don't show anybody.
I've got the number here, and it was. I wrote it right after. So when Katie pick a number between 1 and 100. So all the numbers past that are good. And here, once I get the tail tied in, we'll do a quick drawing. All right. So believe it or not, I don't have Straggle. I don't have Woolly Bugger Marabou in black. I know something wrong with me, but I've got just a regular piece of Marabou here. You can see I've ripped some stuff off the tail anyway. I'm going to tie it in the same way. Pull it off. Pull the length. So if you don't have Woolly Bugger Marabou, this is how I would suggest you do it. I'll switch over to the vise itself. See, if I go like this and I make the tail length the way I want, it's a little bit spindly, just a little bit. So I'm going to take it. I'm just going to break off the very tips of them. That. See? I'm going to make the tail the length that I want. Tied in. I think I might have it a little bit long. We'll see in a second. A little bit longer than I like, but I always do it right. I don't want to mess it up. The back. That is how I've tore it off. See, I don't like that quite as much. More of like a sharp break, but you do what you got to do. I really don't know if the fish are going to notice, but it just looks better. That can always mix in. It helps if I just hold my breath and quiet.
Okay, last call for picking a number between 1 and 100. I'll give you about 30 more seconds.
And we'll tie it on the same way. Cut it off though. I purposely try to put that just a touch longer to make it not quite as even. That turned out fine. Same thing with the Crystal Flash. Doubled over. 3 inches impressive. Bring this to one side. And I promise this will be a little bit different. So we can show the straggle legs. There we go. All right, so I'm going to do 2 different materials. I'm going to use the Gel Core Micro Fritz here. And I'm going to use straggle legs here. So the straggle legs, the core is a lot thinner and the legs are a touch longer. So if you're trying to do touching wraps, straggle legs, you go through a lot more material with this. So you can just do, and I could just do a little more open spiral wraps and be fine. I do touching wraps and be fine. But if I want to put a little dubbing down first, black with the orange bead, absolutely. 100%. That's what I was saying earlier. When fishing that shallow water, as long as the water's not super dirty, you can totally see that orange bead as it goes to the water. Totally. We'll save a step. We're going to tie both these in at the same time. Pull that down just a little bit. And there's that. Well, I have to do it by the old-fashioned way. So I'm still going to leave it on the spool, roll the spool up, I'm going to do touching wraps with this gel core body Fritz. Maybe. And this goes back to holding your breath, going around everything. If I was tying a bunch of these, I would probably figure out exactly how much I needed and cut it off. But we're not right now. So there's that. So a little more of a pain with the different materials tying at the same time, but it does save one little step. Now we'll do what we've done before. And now mine is, except this time we're going to go a little more open spiral wraps. So I'm going to seat in between the that first material, the gel core body Fritz, micro Fritz. And now we're ready for the for a dubbing loop with a little collar on it. So the now my TV is getting back up. So who is ready for the results of the thing? Ready?
What? Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. So I wrote down 71. So 71.
Josh Riston picked 73. Helena Fisher picked 71.
No way, really?
Exactly. Yes. Yep.
Well, that's something.
That's the winner.
That's a, let's say it's a close one.
So we need an address, and we'll make sure she gets some of Gary's special spool, the straggle string, right?
That's right. So she can email us your address, and we'll send it to Gary, and he'll just send it directly to, hopefully just send it directly to you. So cool. And y'all missed me breaking my thread. And I caught it on the hook or something, and I broke my thread. Can you believe it? Most of y'all are like, yep, sure can. All right, let's find a good little color here. We're going to do see, this is how I'm so organized so well. Black rainbow might look nice. Sorry, guys. Oh, there we go. All right, so those of y'all who didn't see my or have a trick or whatever, what would Gary send you? So take your bag of dubbing and cut the corner off. Use your scissors, pull some out, and that way when you pull it out, it'll be pretty much all aligned the way you want it to be. So that's my spiel on the bag hack. I'll cut that a little bit shorter without cutting my thread. All right, spin this up. I'm gonna brush it out. Congratulations, Helena. You never know what you get by watching this little show. Bring this around. You want to switch over the hook? Please. Unfortunately, mine has been freezing up quite a bit now, so hopefully everyone else has been able to continue to watch. So doing 3 wraps behind. And we'll do a little twist. And that's it. I'm start my last time. We'll start this over. Okay, Helena's on, so that means you guys can still hear. All right, so last thing we'll do is do a little quick finish and we'll be done. So any last minute questions, comments, anything, email us at jdemuth
demuthflyfishing@gmail.com.
Thank you.
I already put it on there.
You can send us an email through pictures. You can tag us on Instagram. We'd love to see your pictures, see your work, and let us know any questions that you all might have. And that's it. Words of some Bugs Bunny. That's all, folks. So here's our cool little finished straggle bugger. If I didn't get your questions, I apologize. We'll switch back over to you or me, please. Ori, thanks for spending the night with us. And Jeff, you guys have a wonderful time fishing tomorrow. Thanks a lot, Patrick. Ken B, look forward to seeing what you whip up over in Australia. As always, it's been a lot of fun. We kept it right at an hour, so that's perfect. It's been a lot of fun with you guys hanging out. We look forward to next week. Who knows what next week will bring? But you guys, all of you all going to that fly fishing show. You all have a wonderful trip down there. Yeah. So thanks so much, guys. Katie, will take us away.
Thank you. You guys have a wonderful weekend and happy time.